Welcome to the Thrive TV show with Lauren Parsons, helping you boost your health, energy, and productivity.
Hi there and welcome to the Thrive TV show. I'm Lauren Parsons, Wellbeing Specialist, and today I'm joined by Karen-Tui Boyes. Welcome, Karen.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great, thanks. It's so fantastic to have you with me. Today we're talking about parenting for independence. And I know we have a lot of parents that listen into the show, and I know that even if you're not a parent, you're going to get a lot out of the knowledge that Karen is going to share today. So we're talking about the keys to grow independent children, how to foster that independence as they grow, and some top tips to help you support your children to prepare for and study for exams. So Karen, just to get to know you a little bit, I'd like to start with our this and that question. So are you ready for a quick fire round?
All right, let's see.
Okay. So tell me, spots or stripes?
Spots.
Spots, nice. Skirts or pants?
Depends on the season, but right now, pants.
Pants, okay. Winter, pants, great. Travel alone or travel with friends?
Oh, that's a hard one because I travel alone all the time for my job, but I'd much rather have someone with me. Both.
Nice, yeah, nice. Turkey or Greece?
I've never been to either. Greece.
Okay, nice. Hip hop or rock?
Rock.
Hip hop? Oh, rock,
Nope.
rock. Nice. Walk a dog or rock a baby?
Rock a baby.
Nice. Would you rather be able to play 10 different musical instruments beautifully or speak 10 languages fluently?
10 languages fluently.
Yeah, that's me too. A pet pig or a pet goat?
Goats. Baby goats are so cute.
Oh, nice. Okay, and the last one, ocean, beach or lakefront?
Definitely lakefront.
Lakefront. Oh, interesting. Great. So Karen-Tui Boyes is a champion for lifelong learning. She's internationally known as the study queen. Karen is an award-winning speaker who provides practical how-tos to students in over 20 countries. She's the author of Study Smart and also 27 Study Tips for Success, the creator of the Study Smart board game and the Study Smart workshops. Now that is a tongue twister. She's also the CEO of Spectrum Education, affiliate director of the Institute for Habits of Mind, New Zealand Educator of the Year 2017 and 14, but wait, there's more, New Zealand Speaker of the Year 2019 and 13, and New Zealand Businesswoman of the Year in 2001. And she's a wife and the mother of 2. So it is fantastic to have you with us, Karen. Can you share a little bit about what is it that you love most about what you do now?
Oh, there's so much, but partly it's the variety. But what I love is just empowering people to be the best that they can be, to give the practical strategies to students, to give practical ways for parents to help parent, and also when I work with teachers to give them strategies to make or to help that light in the children's eyes stay there instead of dying early on in the school years.
Fantastic. And so you've worked for decades in education. You're an amazing educator and speaker, and I've had such a huge privilege to speak alongside you at some of your events, which is incredible. And I know that you have got such a wealth of knowledge around parenting. So I wanted to invite you today to share a bit about parenting for independence. So why is this important?
I think it's really important, particularly now, because let me tell you, my children are now 17 and 19. So I've got one who's got one more year of school and one who has left school. And I see so many teenagers who don't have the skills to leave home, don't have the skills to be independent, that we're doing too much for them. We are wrapping them in cotton wool and making sure, they don't get hurt, they don't make mistakes. We have these helicopter parents, the lawnmower parents who go out in front and do everything, make sure it's safe before they go somewhere. And I'm just seeing and hearing prospective employers of this young generation saying they just don't have those abilities they need them to be independent. So many different reasons, but partly that, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's so difficult, isn't it, as a parent? We love these little human beings and we don't want them to get hurt. And so it's so easy to go in and rescue them and overdo things. And I constantly am catching myself thinking, I need to let them do that for themselves, particularly when we're running late. It's like little things for me, little things when we're running late and I'm there putting their socks on. They're completely capable of putting their socks on. So, I'm sure that you've got a wealth of knowledge around this. So tell us, what are some strategies and what are the keys to really growing independent children?
Yeah, well, you're right, because it is this busy culture that we have, and we're so rushed, and so we end up doing it for them because we're going to be late. So there's several things. One, I think children should be involved in doing jobs and chores around the home. I think it's really important for them to be able to feel like a contributing member of the family. So right from very young, putting their toys away, getting themselves dressed, helping unpack the dishwasher or do the dishes, getting their clothes ready for bed or for the morning, lots of little things that they can do. And I always tag this with young children. And when my daughter was 2, I asked her to set the table for dinner. And of course, at 2 years old, the table was higher than her. And so she said me to reach up to put the plates and the knives and forks. But I always tag it with a special word for children when they're doing these jobs. And I say, thank you for being responsible. Thank you for taking responsibility to help our family and work as a team. And that has been a really important phrase as they've got older, because they know they're taking responsibility. They know it's their job. They know that my daughter's now 17, and when she wants to go out to a party, I say, I will trust you until I can't. And she says, I'll be responsible, Mum, because she knows what it means. And she's actually the only child in her entire class of 36 that doesn't drink alcohol at those parties. And she says, I don't want to, Mum. I'm too young for that. And she's highly responsible. So I can trust her because I've built that up through those jobs.
That's amazing. What I love most about that, and that almost makes me tear up because I think, oh, that is so amazing, is that you have given her that identity, or you've reaffirmed in her that identity that she is a responsible person, that she is responsible, that she can make good decisions herself. And that's incredible, just thinking how we can start to build that in right from the age of 2 and 3 and 4. What are some other stories and examples you can share?
I think making sure that we allow our children to make those mistakes. I always remember Stephen Covey talking about his child dropping a glass on the floor. And I remember as a child dropping something on the floor and it breaking, and my mother getting cross. And I remember always saying, I didn't mean to. Now as a parent, of course, I understand my mother's perspective. But as a child, I couldn't understand. It was an accident. And so what he said to his child when they dropped the glass and were about to cry, said, you are more important than the glass. That still shivers up my spine. And so I've always remembered that my children are more important than the mistakes they've made. They're more important than the glass that shatters, or the grade they bring back from school, or the score in the netball game. They are far more important than those things. So helping them to be independent means that as you said, stop rescuing and step back and allow them to actually make mistakes. Allow them to give it a go. Allow them to realize, oh no, that's not the way. And an example of that is I often hear my children go, Mom, do you know where my socks are? Mom, do you know where my tennis racket is? Etc. And usually the instant response is, oh, it's on the such and such, it's over here, it's because, as mothers, we know everything. Quite often. But now what I've realized is she's not actually asking me, because if you haven't done this, try this. Say nothing when they ask. Say nothing. Count to, or wait for about 1 minute. And then you'll hear, it's okay, I found it.
Then you're reinforcing them being able to solve their own problems, right? Then now they're realising, okay, I've got this small challenge that I can't find my tennis racket. Oh, actually I can. And so they're reinforcing that rather than reinforcing that dependence on you.
Correct. So it helps them to be independent when we step back and stop having to rescue them all the time. And it does concern me that there are parents who tie their identity up in being able to help their children, being useful for their children. I think as a parent, it's also really important to have your own hobbies, do your own thing, have your own interests, and children seeing you not always doing everything for them, but doing things for yourself as well. So that might be self-care, of course, exercise, wellness, and having those things that you love. So you can say, actually, this is my time. I'm going to go and do this today.
Absolutely. It was really interesting for us, having lived in France and travelled in France with our children, seeing some of the differences culturally. And one real marked one is that French parents, and this is a generalisation, but that because of the way that food culture is so important in France and sitting around the table and socialising is so important, French parents, when they're eating, when their children haven't asked for things, will say, no, mummy is eating, I'm having my meal. And I think some of the time that's true in our culture here in New Zealand as well, but oftentimes I see a lot of parents that have got their kids on their laps, that are stopping their meals, that are being interrupted during their dining time, and they just feel that that is normal. And it's just a different way of looking at it, that in France that does not happen, and children are incredibly patient at sitting through extended meals as well and being part of the family group because it's such a key part of the culture. But there's just this real preservation of, this is mummy and daddy's time to talk with our friends. And not that it should be all, you're seen and not heard. Yes, they need to go to interact when they need us, but just that having that independence that they can play and that we can also have our own time. I think that's really key to separate that out.
Absolutely. And that the children can actually be okay being bored. They can actually be okay doing nothing. Because again, I also see when I travel around the world, particularly having breakfast in hotels, I see so many parents having that iPad or the phone in front of even 3-month-old babies who don't need any other stimulation. But they're thinking, oh, I've got to entertain. And actually, these children need to learn how to be bored because it's part of being independent. It's part of being able to think for yourself, what am I going to choose now?
Yeah, and isn't it such a key skill to have those boredom moments so that we can then have creativity and innovation flourish?
Absolutely, yeah.
So what are some other examples for parents of children across the different age groups that you recommend they do to foster their independence?
Well, when they're getting a little older, so my son, our son finished school last year, and might be the year before. He's 19, maybe the year before. He went right through school, and he decided to not go straight to university. He wanted to get a job, so he went and got a job. But what we did is we wrote a contract for an adult child living at home. And the contract states exactly what our expectations are for him and how much rent he needs to pay from his wages every week, and how he will conduct himself as an adult in our home. So what we're doing is transitioning him from being our child to being an adult partner. And the contract has been really useful for that. So I highly recommend having contracts in place, getting them to sign them, being really formal. And our contract.
Can you give an example of what are some of the things that are in your contract, Karen?
Yeah. So the jobs that he must do every week without us asking, that he's responsible now for his washing and changing his sheets and his towels every week. Now, I have to say, they don't get changed every week. They don't get washed maybe even every 2 weeks. And I'm like, but I just let it go. The mess in the room is often awful, and every now and then I will pop my head in and say, hey, do you think it's time to clean up? But he needs to learn about that. So it's not me nagging him. If he was in a flat by himself or with flatmates, he'd do what he wants. So it talks about, what our expectations are, what jobs he must do, the consequences of not doing those. And if I have to hire someone to do the job, then he has to pay for that. It talks about what hours are quiet hours in our household. So it has, if he wants someone to stay over, we must agree with that. So we've just gone and looked at all the different things that we would expect somebody living in our house would do, and put those in the contract.
Mm-hmm. And so then that's something that you've been able to, at a time when everyone's calm, discuss, work through. It could be something perhaps for people listening that you could develop together with your child and agree to and then sign, so that there's total clarity before you get to those moments when perhaps it's going to push buttons and raise emotions. Yeah, so it's all pre-prepared and agreed in advance.
Absolutely. Right down to even little financial tips for him that says how much money what percentage of his wages he must save, and what percentage he gives away every week, and what percentage he puts into what we call our wealthing account, so that he is being able to create wealth for himself. So even little financial tips there. And also we have a extended family account. So when you turn 18 in our house, instead of getting birthday presents, they get $50 put in at Christmas and birthdays from everybody from the family. And so we have family experiences. And so he has to contribute to that family account every month. So it's like making him feel like he's a contributing adult in our family now. So helping him with that independence.
Wow. So it's all of these themes that are tying into that being part of the team. And I love it that, often we picture that we want our children to grow up to be these amazing independent adults, but it is incredible when we think right back to what we're doing with our 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds. I know you also, Karen, have some great tips around avoiding bickering around chores and privileges. You had a month-by-month system, I believe. Can you tell us about that?
It came from a friend of mine in Perth who's got 3 children, and they always fight about the silly little things. And it started for her with fighting about who was going to sit in the front seat of the car. And it's like, oh, for goodness sake, not again. So she implemented, and then I copied, a month in the front is what it's called. And when it's your month, you get to sit in the front of the car, no matter if there's no other adults who need that seat. It's that child's right to sit in the front seat. However, the month in the front also means that they get to choose, the premium job. So I don't know why, but putting the plates on the table is a premium job in our house, as opposed to putting the knives and forks, because we're still. So if it's your month in the front, you get to put the plates on the table. And the other person does the knives and forks. I have 2 children, so we just have to split them in 2 ways. You're the person that gets to check the mailbox when we get home, rather than fighting about it, because it's your month. Because I've got 2 children, we split the house into 2, and you're either on the front of vacuuming the house, or you're on the back of vacuuming the house. And it's the same, just same area. So they actually know whose month it is on the front and whose month it is on the back. I would have no idea. But how it works is we have 1 month for one child, another month, second month for the second child, and the third month is mum and dad's month. Now that doesn't mean we have to do the vacuuming. Just want to be clear on it. But it means that we can choose. So it's our choice. Or it's nobody sits in the front this month, or they choose between them. That's the ideal. The ideal is in that 1 month that's ours, that they say, hey, I'll have a turn today, you have a turn tomorrow. So they start to learn to take those turns.
Yeah, and there's negotiation skills and sharing skills. Yeah, fantastic.
And I have to say that now they're 17 and 19, they still know whose month it is. They don't necessarily do it as such anymore. It's not something we talk about, but I do notice that they instantly know who's doing which part of the vacuuming in the house. They instantly know who can sit in the front seat. There's no bickering, no arguing. They just get on and do it.
So you're really instilling in them these values that they are responsible, that they can make good decisions, that they're part of a team, that they're contributing to their family, to society. I can just see this flowing on into their lives in so many ways. You're creating some very eligible young people to be married and employed and go out into the world, which is fantastic.
So, yeah, well, my husband and I, we love our children dearly, and we want them to leave.
Yes.
So that comment is very polarizing for some, but the average age of children leaving home is 27 right now. And I'm like, heck no, I've got plans. I need things to do. So,
Yeah.
but I am appalled at how many children don't know how to use a washing machine. Teenagers, how many of them don't know how to turn the dishwasher on? If you've got one, how many of them don't know how to mow the lawn? And, you know, partly perhaps because it's where I grew up in the country and on a farm and you just had to do everything. But I think these children need to feel like they've got a purpose in the family. And again, it's polarizing because people say, oh, just let them be children. And yeah, I want them to be kids. I'm not trying to make them grow up fast, but I want them to feel like they can contribute and they're part of everything that we do, that it's not being done to them.
Absolutely. I can recall myself when I went and lived in France for a year when I was 18, and my host sister, who was 1 year younger than me, she went on exchange to New Zealand. And so I arrived and I was, very fortunate to be using her room and all those different things and sort of not taking a place in the family, but essentially filling that spot. And my host parents were amazed with me that I did my own washing. But for me, that was just normal. There was lots of other things that I was probably not great at doing at all, but I just did my own washing and they just thought that that was the bee's knees. So it's amazing, whereas I didn't even think about it. It was just normal for me. So it is amazing how we can create practice for our kids.
Yeah. And
so
it's
sorry, go ahead.
Just a simple little thing. Like I have the instructions on how to turn and use the washing machine right beside the washing machine. So just written the instructions out, push the power button, here's how you select, and, just the system of how to do that. But I love the meme that you might have seen. If children can use a smartphone, they can use a dishwasher and a washing machine, and they can use a vacuum, and they can mop the floor, because smartphones take a lot of intelligence to be able to use, and if they can do that, they can do all the other things.
Absolutely. And perhaps sometimes linking some of those things, some of those privileges, to those responsibilities that they have within the family. Do you have any thoughts around smartphones and children? I'm sure that this is such a key area at the moment, technology, and this could be another whole topic, and maybe we should do that. But do you have just perhaps your best tip in terms of moving away from being the parent that does rely on technology to mind the kids? Any tips for us there?
Yes. So our dinner time is a very sacred time for us. It's our family time. And before the children even had cell phones, my husband and I decided that we would have no telephones at the table. And so if the phone rings while we're eating dinner, we leave it. And so we modeled that before they had phones. And so now they don't have their phones at the table. So they know that. They know that's the rule in our house, no phones at the dinner table. Also, no phones in their bedrooms. In fact, we have no technology in their bedrooms. Their bedrooms are their safe space. They're the quiet space. They're the space without all the, technology. And they have access to technology anytime they like during the day when they're home, but not in their bedrooms. So we've just made those two simple rules, and it's really been great.
It just creates a safer environment, doesn't it, where it can be in a living area. And I think it's great in terms of, I talk with a lot of people around sleep, and if we can make our bedroom and associate our beds just with sleep, or if we have a partner with intimacy, if we associate our bed with sleep and intimacy rather than eating or watching movies or playing games or working or other things, it's just great in terms of benefiting us in terms of our sleep. So seeing our bedroom as that sanctuary, that place to chill out, to relax, restore, perhaps be creative, perhaps write or do homework, but not to use technology. I think that's fantastic. This probably leads into talking about some study tips, because this really is your area of expertise as well, helping people to study for and pass exams. So what are the keys to do that?
So interesting distinction for parents is to know the difference between study and homework. So homework is doing what the teacher has set, and the students hand it in on a given time and the teacher marks it. Or the students mark it, but it gets marked and they get feedback. Study is learning what you don't know so you can pass a test or an exam. So they're actually different. And often students will say, teenagers will say, oh, I don't have any homework, but they may have study because there'll be things they don't know, don't understand. So a couple of the tips that I teach when I'm teaching students is to study for 20 minutes and take a 5-minute break. I have a free downloadable app called the iStudy Alarm. And the iStudy Alarm times them for 20 minutes. It gives them a 2-minute revision break and then times their 5-minute break. And this short, sharp focuses are better than trying to focus for a long period of time, because our children get distracted, they get bored. If it's hard, they want to give up even sooner. So 20 minutes most of them can do. I notice when I do
repeating that, so they do 20 minutes, take a 5-minute break, and then keep going, or
yeah, if they've got time and if they've got a lot to learn. So the first thing I would suggest is, yes, that they study for 20 minutes, take a 5-minute break. The second thing is that they need to chunk the information down. If they've got 10 things to learn, so 10 things is too many. The brain can't cope with 10 things. So you want to go 3 and then check you know them. 3 more, check you know them all, and then 4 more, check you know them all. So we want to chunk it into those small, tiny pieces to be able to learn the information, because many of our children get so overwhelmed with looking at, there's so much I have to learn. But 1, they only need to focus on what they don't know, and 2, chunk it down into small, manageable pieces. The third thing for parents to understand is that exams have nothing to do with intelligence. An exam is measuring their ability to remember and recall the information, which is not linked to intelligence at all. And so having strategies to help our children to be able to remember information. So one thing a parent can do is ensure that we're providing great brain food. So that's things like blueberries and nuts and fish and broccoli, bananas, spinach, whole grain bread, all the great foods that are good for the brain. So we want to make sure that we provide those kind of snacks for them, have an abundance of this great food in the house, because the fuel that you put in is what you get back out. So this is your bread.
I'm agreeing 100%. And I think we often don't think of that, as if we have students or teenagers or children that are busy, that are studying for something coming up. And it's just one simple way that you can support them, keep them really, really well hydrated, and give them nutritious snacks, make it easy, have it on hand, support them as they're studying. Yeah.
Absolutely, and that hydration is really important. Having that water beside them, having it available, and because they get hooked up into what they hear on social media and on advertising, like these energy drinks and the sugar snacks and all that sort of thing, which isn't useful when they are studying and trying to focus. So, as a parent, also the other tip I would suggest to parents is talk to your students about your expectations and theirs. What kind of help do they want from you? Do they want you nagging them every day and saying, have you got any homework? Have you done your study? Have you done it? Have you done it? Or do they just want you to say nothing and support them and say, is there a time that would be good for us to talk about this, and come up with the expectations. So I am not that parent that asks my children if they've done it. It's their responsibility. And so if they haven't done it, not my problem. I'm hoping that the consequence they learn is from the outside world, from the school, from their life, not from me.
Yeah, and I think that's great, because automatically that makes me think that the consequence is that they might fail that exam, or they might do really badly in that exam, worse than what they would like to. But isn't it better for them to have that chance to fail when they're 14 or 15 or 16 than when they're going for the job interview that they really want to get? Because hopefully it will bring that message home to them to go, actually, when I prepare, I do really well. And when I don't prepare, this is the consequence. Yeah.
And making sure that the children, teenagers know that, again, your love for them is not tied up in that exam mark.
Yes, I love it. Your statement before, I wrote it down, you are more important than the glass. You are more important than this exam. Not that you are more important that you can just go and do what you want, but the results that we have in individual moments in our lives don't define who we are or our worth. And I think that's really key for our children to understand as well.
Absolutely. And so we want them to be lifelong learners. We want them to be able to understand how they learn best. So it's little things like, if they need to get up early in the morning and see, do they focus better early in the morning? Do they focus better late at night? And having those kinds of conversations about what is your learning style? How do you learn best? And, many of them do everything the night before and that pressure, but is that actually your best work when we do that? And some of them work far too hard because they're tying their results into their self-esteem. They want it to be perfect because that's a reflection of then they'll be enough. And of course, those are the kinds of conversations we want to have with our students around their learning.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic, Karen. Thank you so much. I just feel like there's so much wealth of knowledge here for parents. Any final tip or final words you would say in terms of building children that are resilient and independent?
I think you also have to model it. So allow them to see you cross and angry because it's normal, and then but respond to it positively. Actually, do you know my favorite tip? I don't know where I learned this, but I love it. Instead of me sending my children to their room, I go, that's it, I'm going to my room, and I go because it's actually my problem. It's like I'm the one who needs the time out because I can't stand them bickering, and it's like that. They're not going to kill each other, but but I just need to remove myself from that. And by the way, as soon as I remove myself, they stop. Isn't that interesting?
I know I do the same thing. Sometimes you just need to walk away, and sometimes I do. I say to my children, I just need to walk away and take a few deep breaths right now. And I haven't really thought of it as modelling for them, but it is, isn't it? It's modelling what you can do in the same situation if they're confronted with friends with a situation that they're upset. Go away and take some time out.
And I do some modelling too. The first time my son met his soccer coach when he was young, the soccer coach shook his hand, and Hamish was looking at the floor, at the ground, and I said, excuse me, we need to stop and practice that again. And I did some real live coaching. I don't know if the coach was impressed, but I said to him, sweetheart, when you shake somebody's hand, you need to give eye contact. And so I said, we're going to do that again. And the poor coach is looking at me, but Hamish has never forgotten that lesson. And when he shakes somebody's hand, he always gives eye contact. If he walks in after work, even now as a 19-year-old, ranting and raving about something that went wrong, I'm like, stop, turn around, walk out that door, come back and do that again. You don't walk into my house ranting and raving. And it's like, hi, Mum, how are you? So I help them model it from me, but also give them the model of how I expect them to behave.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Karen. If people want to follow up with you, what's the best way to connect in with you or perhaps access some of your resources?
Yes, so they can go to our website, spectrumeducation.com, and you can email me at karen@spectrumeducation.com. And if you want a copy of I can give you two things, a copy of the 27 study tips, so I can send that to you via email, and I can also give you a copy of the parenting contract, the contract for children staying at home, living at home as an adult. So if you want a copy of that, let me know.
Fantastic. So we'll make sure we'll have the links down below in the show notes at thrivetvshow.com. So if you're interested in those things, make sure you head there, click down below, and you can link through to access those amazing resources. So thank you again, Karen. Fantastic to have you with us, and I look forward to getting feedback. So feel free to comment below and let us know what's the best tip that you've got out of this. What are the things that you're going to do in your parenting to help foster independent children? So thanks again, Karen.
Pleasure. Thanks, Lauren.
And that's been another episode of Thrive TV. Go out and thrive.
Thank you for listening to the Thrive TV Show with Lauren Parsons. Visit thrivetvshow.com to access the show notes and discover our fantastic bonus content. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next inspiring episode.